Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Off-Farm Income Podcast. Thank you very much for joining us here on our YouTube channel for episode number 761. And today I'm speaking with Wyatt Potter. He's going to be talking to us from the University of Wisconsin at Platteville all about the supervised agricultural experience he had in high school of buying old pieces of equipment, fixing them up, and then reselling them. Really fascinating business. Always love hearing about this type, and this is a great interview. We'll start it for you right now. Joining me today is Wyatt Potter, and he's coming to us from the University of Wisconsin at Platteville, where he is studying construction management. And he's a former chapter reporter for the River Ridge High School FFA chapter in Hanover, Illinois, and a state proficiency winner in the state of Illinois in 2019 in ag mechanics. Wyatt, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Hey, you bet. I am very happy to speak with you, and looking forward to finding out what you got going on with. I've got a few questions already prepped for you about that, but let's do this. I always like to start off by kind of introducing our guests to my audience so they know who they're listening to. It'd be all right with you if we asked you just a few questions about you?
Yes.
All right. Well, how old are you now, Wyatt?
I am 19 years old.
Okay. So is this your first year at the University of Wisconsin?
Yeah, it is.
Okay. Now, when you're not at school, when you're back home, I'm guessing in Illinois, are you on a farm, or are you in town, or something kind of in between those two?
Yeah, I live out on a 200-acre farm, about 70 acres tillable for row crop.
Oh, okay. Interesting. So what kind of row crops are farmed there on your place?
We currently grow just soybeans and corn.
Okay, soybeans and corn. So 200 acres, 70 are tillable. Is the rest of the land, is it like wooded or something like that?
Yeah, it's we live in a pretty hilly area, so most of it's too steep to farm, but it's all woods, and we got like ATV trails through it, and we got a pond, and just pretty much nature.
That sounds kind of cool.
Yeah.
Do you hunt? Is there good hunting there?
Yeah, we're in a pretty good area for hunting. A lot of people come out to our county to hunt.
Very cool. That's neat. I can picture it in my mind. I've actually never been to Illinois yet. I've been all around it, but I've never been to Illinois, so I'll have to get out there and see that state here, hopefully in the not too distant future. Well, let me ask you about your time in the FFA. So how long have you been participating? When did you become a member?
I started my membership my freshman year of high school.
Okay. And why did you join? What brought you into the group?
My family, my mom was in FFA, and a lot of my friends that were older than me were in FFA, and I love farming and all that. So I liked my ag teacher who was our advisor, so I thought, why not?
Okay. Very good. And then I'm assuming you became an officer, and off the air or in our pre-interview, you told me that you served as your chapter's reporter for 3 years?
Yeah, my sophomore year through my senior year.
So you obviously got involved in the officer team very early on. What kind of propelled you into that?
We when I first started, our FFA chapter wasn't we were active, but not as active as a lot of us liked. So when I was young, the officer positions weren't really too sought after. So a lot of us in my age, we decided to kind of get started earlier and get a program going. So by the time we were seniors, we had something started, and for the people behind us to continue on.
That is interesting. So your sophomore year, the FFA members who were juniors, who were seniors, they were not as active and not as interested in being part of the officer team?
Yeah, we still had officers and all that, but it just seemed like when I was a freshman, like there wasn't really that much of a push to be competitive in a lot of the competitions we were in, and it was just more laid back, I would say.
Okay. So when you became an officer going into your sophomore year, were there several other sophomores that also were on the officer team?
Yes,
okay.
There was several people from my class. At one point, actually, I was related to all the officers on the team at one point or another.
Oh, so like all cousins or siblings or something like that?
Yeah, we were all some distant related and some rather like first cousins. And
that's funny. Interesting. So
Yeah.
I was about to ask you, what did the juniors and the seniors think about all of a sudden all the officers in FFA were underclassmen, if you will, sophomores, and so behind them in high school. But now, not just all sophomores, but all sophomores who are related. It sounds like a coup.
Yeah, it's a lot of them got along with it. I mean, they just they didn't have a problem being more active. I guess some of them didn't have the time to do the officer meetings, and we just started coming up with different ideas to keep the members active, having cookouts and other activities.
Okay, very cool. Well, I wanted to ask you about this. So you're going to University of Wisconsin at Platteville, but obviously from Illinois. What took you out of state and over to Wisconsin for college?
It's only about an hour away from me, and I live in a spot where I'm right on the border near Iowa and Wisconsin. So, they have a deal that you pay they give you a little break on the price. So, and I've known a lot of people that have gone here and they got a good education and got great jobs. So it seemed like a easy decision for me.
Got it. So, instead of paying like really expensive out-of-state tuition because you're so close and bordering states, you get somewhere closer or maybe in between out-of-state and in-state tuition?
Correct, yeah.
Okay, very cool. Now, you've chosen construction management as your major. Tell me about that decision.
Yeah, I came to Platteville, and originally my first semester I went for mechanical engineering, and the more I was thinking about it and the more I looked into the job field, I decided I wanted to be more out of the office and hands-on.
Okay.
So I just recently started this construction management major, and my family used to own a construction business when I was younger, and my dad currently is a superintendent for a construction company. So it's always kind of been in my life, and I love building things.
So it's not just farming you grew up with, but it was construction as well.
Yeah.
Okay, very cool. And so when you say out of the office in the field, what do you envision yourself doing once you complete college?
I see myself being on job sites and kind of being like the superintendent and managing like the subcontractors and running the job site, running the meetings, and possibly doing estimates for future jobs.
Okay. Oh, very cool. It sounds like you've got a great vision. I'd love at this point to acknowledge your FFA advisors along the way if we could.
Yeah, my 4 years in FFA, my advisor was Mr. Ed Curry. He just recently passed away this summer, but when I was in FFA, he always pushed me to keep my record books up to date and encouraged me and everyone else to be active. He loved when we were seniors. He could really see the growth in our chapter, and our members had really climbed, and we had been more competitive in competitions, and he was really happy with where we were headed.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that he passed away. I know that the relationship between a student and their FFA advisor can be a close one, and sorry to hear that happen.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's do this. I'm going to take a moment here, Wyatt, and acknowledge a couple of our sponsors. Everybody, I want to start out talking about Lacrosse Footwear. You can find them at lacrossefootwear.com. Just thrilled to have them as a sponsor. We use their boots every single day on our farm here in Idaho, and we've been doing that for a long time before they ever became a sponsor. But just considering everything they do for the FFA and the fact that we had found them and really found a product that we really liked makes me very proud to have them as a sponsor. Lacrosse Footwear, they have been proud to support the FFA by annually sponsoring 15 scholarships along with 100 jackets as part of the Give the Gift of Blue program. And I'll tell you what, if you're looking for a boot to put on your feet to work around your place, you're not going to be more comfortable. You're not going to find something longer lasting, and you're not going to find something to keep you drier or to make you more proud to wear than Lacrosse boots. We hope you'll check them out at lacrossefootwear.com. And, of course, everybody, I want to mention Powder River Livestock Handling Equipment. Man, they have been a part of this show now for a long, long time. And I grew up just knowing that cattlemen used Powder River out there in the West, in the Central Valley of California, and they have spread all across the country. And of course they have. They've been developing great livestock handling equipment for over 80 years, starting out here in the West with some of the wildest cattle you'll ever deal with and spreading all throughout the country. And their reputation and the quality of what they build has preceded them. And we hope that you'll let your local farm and ranch retailer know that you'd like them to carry Powder River as well, so you can engage in part of that tradition that we have all known out here in the West ever since I was a young man. So check them out at powderriver.com. All right, well, Wyatt, let's talk about your supervised agricultural experience. I know you won the Illinois State Proficiency Award in 2019, so congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Hey, you bet. Now tell us what you did to get there. Tell us about your supervised agricultural experience and what you were doing.
Yeah, so I did ag mechanics, repair and maintenance entrepreneurship. So my dad and I, we always are looking on auctions, and we watch for equipment that's usually broken down or usually doesn't go too high a price because there's something wrong with it. And we end up buying it together, and then we bring it home and we take it all apart and fix it up, and then we either sell it or we use it for a while on our farm, and then if we like it, we'll keep it, or we'll end up selling it later on down the road.
Okay. Interesting. So did you start this your freshman year, or is this something you already had going?
My dad and I had always had stuff to work on ever since I was a kid. My first project before I was in high school, big one, was my dad and I bought a not an old one, but a John Deere burnt tractor, and I'd started that, I think, when I was 11. And so that took us about 3 years, and so right at the end of that was when I was starting to come into high school. And then after that, I started keeping track of my projects for FFA, and I ended up my junior year, so it would have been the 2018 year, I went to state for it and didn't win it, but then I went back 2019 and ended up winning it.
Okay. Really cool. Now, was this a big part of your income during the time that you were in high school, fixing up these pieces of equipment and then reselling them?
Yeah, it was something I spent most of my time on the weekends working on with my dad, and I had other jobs, but this was what I liked to do the most. And if it was a big project, then it would have been a big source of income.
Okay. Now, I'm always jealous of folks like yourself when I do interviews and I hear that you have the ability to do that. I don't have enough mechanical aptitude to buy something like that, figure out what's wrong, and get it going. But it always makes me curious, was there ever a project that you and your dad bought and you got to a point and you went, well, this is just not going to work out?
Yeah, recently there's been a couple projects that we end up purchasing, and they didn't exactly go on the intended plan. We kind of had to change plans with what we were doing with them.
Okay.
So yeah, not every one is a grand slam. They all have their own little quirks that you got to just come up with a better plan on what you're going to do with it.
Yeah. How do you find the equipment to buy? Is it just strictly auctions, or do you pull in people's front yards and see something sitting out there and look at it?
Yeah, we do pull into people's front yards and look at it, but a lot of it, because we're in a kind of a rural area, unless we're out driving around, usually going to pick up something else that we bought, we don't really see a lot of equipment that we didn't know was already for sale sitting along the road. So a lot of it is on online auctions that, or on like Craigslist or some other form of social media that we see that something's for sale. And we'll end up going to look at it, or it'll be on an auction too.
And so when you're buying something and you're negotiating the price or you're bidding on it at an auction, do you have some idea of how much money it's going to take to make it operational, and then what you're going to be able to sell it for once you've got it up and going?
Definitely, yeah. We always, because you can see on the auctions, like they'll be on the website for months or at least a few weeks before they sell. So we'll have time to do our own research to see what ones that are selling currently, what they're bringing. And usually they'll list, like, if something's wrong with it, they'll give a brief description of what might be wrong with it. So then we can do our own little research and see how in depth it is and what the parts will cost, and if it's going to be financially all right to do it.
Okay. And do you have a lot of competition? Are there a lot of people out there doing this that you're bidding against for these pieces of equipment?
There's always a lot of people that are looking for a good deal. It just depends on the kind of equipment. Usually we stay till a little older, so we don't have to deal with the computers and all that, because we don't have that kind of equipment to work on it. So we're usually a little older, and some of the people that are looking for the deals, they have the equipment that they can work on the newer stuff. So it kind of divides it all out. So there's not everybody's looking for the same area, I think.
And what's been the most difficult project you've done since you started doing this with your father?
Most difficult project. The burnt tractor when I was younger was one of the more difficult ones, just because everything was burnt, and it was kind of our first one, and that was pretty much a full teardown in that. But I guess one of the harder ones was we did a 4-wheel drive articulating tractor a year or two ago, and that was just a little bit of a more difficult project because everything weighed so much more. So we just had to, it was a lot. We couldn't just pick it up, the parts, and move them around. We had to move everything with a skid loader or a tractor to lift everything up. So that was a little more challenging.
And on something like that, are you learning how to work on, say, a fully articulating tractor for the first time when you get that, or do you only buy pieces of equipment you already know how to work on?
Usually my dad and I, we actually try to buy a project that's different every time. One time, usually it's an engine. The next tractor we actually have that we're going to work on, it's the transmission's wrong with it. We usually try to do different things because we always like to learn new things as we go, because a lot of the times we're learning together and we don't know exactly what's going on, but we can do a lot of research and look online, and so that just keeps it interesting.
Okay. So when you're all done with college and you're a superintendent and you're working on construction sites and doing all of that, will this be something that you want to continue doing on the weekends?
Oh, yeah, definitely. That's the plan.
Very cool. Well, I like your project, Wyatt. Like I said, I'm jealous. I wish I had the ability to just tear into something like that and figure it out.
Yeah, they can be headaches at times, but in the end, it's always worth it.
Very cool. Well, hey, thank you so much for coming on today and sharing this with us. And hey, best of luck to you at the University of Wisconsin.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me.
Thank you for joining us, everybody. Thank you for being part of the Off-Farm Income Podcast. We really appreciate you being here. And as always, enjoy your journey to the ultimate lifestyle business, agriculture.